So we talked about the physical preparation and what happens on the trail there. Talk to us a little bit about the role strategy plays in the Iditarod, and for pacing, managing your dogs, and yeah, I'm sure there are a whole host of things that we can't even dream of that you can tell us about strategically.
Yeah, strategically, I think that's one of the areas that I've been able to excel at. And the biggest portion of it, if you zoom way out, the biggest portion is understanding what metrics actually move the needle. Where should our attention and focus be? Too many times people focus on the wrong thing. Let's say speed. Speed is usually a indicator of a strong or healthy dog team on the race. So by extension, more is better, right? Well, not exactly, because speed isn't efficient, right? There is an optimal speed that we would like to be running. For my teams, it varies, but generally, let's say 9.2 miles an hour is in trail conditions, change this hugely. But we want to travel efficiently. And yes, sometimes that coincides with having a fast run time. Sometimes more speed is not necessarily better. So strategy wise, I'm trying to get my team down the trail as easily as possible. Make the Iditarod as easy as you can for your dogs. They're the ones having to run it. And there's a lot of different ways how we break up the length of run, the speed we choose to travel over that section of trail. Those are all major factors in what the dog's actual experience is. And this goes back to when I first started mushing and started my own kennel. I mean, I grew up training when racing with my dad. And when I was 21, I kind of struck out and started my own kennel with, and there was great opportunities to stay at the home base. But for me, I wanted to rebuild everything from square one. I felt there was a lot that we were doing because that's the way we've always done it, right? So we wanted to rebuild everything from the point of view of the dog. What is the experience the dog sees? Let's solve the dog's problem, not my problem. Humans and animals look at things very differently. And also what's important to us is different. The dogs don't know or care if we're racing, right? So oftentimes as a musher, we think we're solving problems. But is it the problem that your team sees? And if it's not the problem that they see, they think you're an ineffectual leader because you're not solving the problem that they're seeing, even though there's a host of other things that also need to be solved, yes. But first and foremost, solve the problems for your team, the problems and issues that they're seeing, that they're experiencing. And that goes back to building that confident, happy dog team.
What a great leadership lesson right there.
There's a lot of that in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a bigger scale, on the strategy side of it, a lot of it is understanding when you make a move on the Iditarod, the long-term effects, and where does that leave us? Where does that set us up to do next? And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes when I'm asked to, look at somebody's training schedule or racing schedule or at a past race and diagnose what did they do wrong, sort of a thing. A lot of times people do a big move. They're running neck and neck in first and second, right? And they want to break away from the other musher. They want to get a lead. So they do something big and crazy. And in short term, it relieves some of the pressure and it gives them an advantage. Long term, it was a very bad leave that did not set them up for anything good from there. The only time we need to be in the front is at the finish line. You don't need to be in front. It's not who was in front for the longest. It's who's in front at a very specific point in time. So there's a lot of strategy like that. And again, it all comes back to understanding, what's the easiest way to do this for my dog team that still gets us there quickly and efficiently.
So you mentioned earlier something about your lead dog getting a cut. So there are different roles, I guess, that the dogs play. And how do you sort out which dogs should get which roles and how does that affect the chemistry among the dogs?
Great question. So first of all, I think that's I've had a few dogs, very few, that I think are actually proud or egotistical
Really?
about a position, right? That's very much a human emotion that we put on a hierarchical structure, right? The reality, and this goes back to solving the problem that the dog sees. So the reality of it is the lead dog is probably one of the more important positions. It is definitely the hardest position in the team. And therefore, if you're looking at efficiency, it's not smart for the team to have one dog doing the hardest job the entire time, unless you have a freak of nature athlete in your team, which the one that I was thinking of that was kind of egotistical about it. He was a freak of nature. He was 15% better than any dog I had in that team and probably have ever had. So he could do that, most of, if not the entire way. So there are different positions. we're regularly moving dogs between those positions. And mostly what I'm trying to do is balance output, right? So I might buffer a very good lead dog in the easiest position in the team so that later in the race, I have a fresh, strong leader that feels capable of doing what I'm asking them to do. And I think that's where we end up breaking trust inadvertently. Is I'm in a pickle, it's terrible weather, I have to get through this section of trail, and I put this dog up in front. And then I also want to have a fast run time because I know all the people back home are watching and they're going to think that I have a weak dog team if I don't have a fast run time. And so they're pushing that dog for more speed. And pretty soon the dog's thinking, I was tired before we started this. Now I'm in the hardest position again. And also we're trying to push for speed as well. And pretty soon it's, that's what's going to teach a dog not to want to go and lead or to self-regulate, and they're going to back off because they're afraid that you're going to ask for more than they can do easily or do well. So I'm always balancing, and some of it's physical and a lot of it's mental. Who's having a great day? That's going to be my lead dog today. I train them all for the position, but I want to be able to take the one that it's not going to put them into, it's not going to take away from them. I want them to feel comfortable and confident. Look, I'm in lead and I feel great. And meanwhile, if I see somebody who is a great athlete, a great lead dog, that's just not having a good day, I want to put them in a position where I never ask them to do something that would be too much. I asked you to run in the easiest position, and they're going to do that perfectly, right? And then 2 days from now, when they're feeling better, now they can go back and lead. So it's regulating and managing that team throughout the whole race.